look at the situation, because Chelsea are going to be up against the European champions in Paris Saint-Germain. That game will come at 10 p.m. East African time tomorrow night. So PSG are arguably the best team in the world in as far as club football is concerned. That is without a doubt very, very effective. But they come into the final without two of their players in William Pacho in defense. So expect Lucas Berardo to start in that center back, in that central defense, alongside the captain, 31-year-old Marquinhos. And then, of course, Lucas Hernandez will equally be absent. These ones received direct red cards or matching orders in their 2-0 victory against Bayern Munich at the quarterfinals. So they also missed the previous thrashing of Real Madrid in that 4-0 victory in the semi-finals. So those are the only changes we expect. So when it comes to their starting lineup, I expect Gianluigi Donnarumma in goal, Nuno Mendes, Achraf Hakimi, that's at left back and right back respectively, Marquinhos and Lucas Berardo. Then their midfield pack of Fabian Ruiz, Vitinha, and João Neves, and then the attacking trio of Ousmane Dembele, Kivisa Kvaratskhelia, and Desire Doué. Of course, on the bench, the likes of Goncalo Ramos, then the likes of Zai Emre, Warren Zai Emre, the likes of Mayuru, those kinds of players. Of course, Bradley Bacola, to be on the bench there to support PSG in their pursuit to be the first winners of the inaugural, FIFA Club World Cup, this new edition that involves 32 teams that will be played every once in 4 years, more like the World Cup itself. So a very, very strong PSG side against a very strong Chelsea side. Now, I was telling you guys that based on the tunnel that PSG have gone through to reach the finals, I think it has been a more difficult journey compared to that of Chelsea, because we are talking about Chelsea side that played Pyramides in the quarterfinals and beat them by 2-1. They played Fluminense in the semi-finals and beat them by 2-0. Of course, at the round of 16, they met with Benfica and beat them by 4-1 after extra time. While PSG on the other side beat up against Inter Miami, I think it was by 4-0 in the round of 16. Then they met Bayern Munich at the quarterfinals, beat them by 2-0, and beat Real Madrid by 4-0 in the semi-finals. Also at the group stages, in their first game, they beat up against Atletico Madrid by a similar scoreline, 4-0. Kangli Chan scored a penalty in that game to seal that victory. So Atletico Madrid, I think, received a red card in that game. So when you compare the opponents that they've met during the course of the tournament, obviously PSG have faced tougher opponents, and yet they've come out unscathed. They just do not concede so many goals. In this particular tournament, they did lose a game, although they lost to Botafogo by 1-0 during match day 2, while we were still at the group stages. That's for PSG. Chelsea on the other side, very, very beautiful side, very decent side. They've really, Enzo Maresca has been rotating the squad, whether it's in centre back, whether it's in midfield. At one time, we saw a centre back pairing of Trevor Chalobah and Levi Colwill. Another day, it was Trevor Chalobah and Tosin Aderabio. Then sometimes Richie James started at right back. On another time, it was Malo Gusto starting. Then Marco Cucurella is a mainstay in that left back. The goalkeeper Robert Sanchez has been a mainstay. Moises Caicedo, I think, did not start. I think, was it the semi-final, quarter-final? But Enzo Fernandez, at one time, it was Moises Caicedo alongside Lomo Lavia, and then Enzo Fernandez ahead of them. But the last game, it was Moises Caicedo alongside Enzo Fernandez with Cole Palmer ahead of them, with Pedro Neto and João Pedro starting in front alongside Christopher Nkunku. So, but whichever the pick may be, so I do expect, personally, I think against PSG, I would expect a team like Levi Colwill. I would expect Tosin Aderabio to start in centre back, Marco Cucurella and Malo Gusto, and then Robert Sanchez, of course, in goal. I would expect a double pivot, I think, of Moises Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez, Cole Palmer, Pedro Neto, Christopher Nkunku, and João Pedro to start in that setup. But I mean, anything can happen really in terms of expected lineups. anything can happen. So in terms of those changes, so then it's not really cast in stone. That's only my probable lineup. So then, of course, we know Luis Enrique is more poised for these kinds of occasions. We are talking about a Chelsea team that won the UEFA Conference League as they beat up against Real Betis in the final by 4 goals to 1. We're talking about a PSG side that won the UEFA Champions League, beating Inter Milan by 5 goals to 0. So really, these are two strong teams. In terms of recent history, they've met about 6 times in the UEFA Champions League, and Chelsea have beaten PSG only once. They beat them in 2014 by 2 goals to 0 at the Stamford Bridge, while in that same year, PSG beat up against Chelsea by 3 goals to 1 at Parc de France. And then in 2015, they also met. I think this was at the knockout stages. I think, yes, it must have been at the knockout stages somewhere. Was it a round of 16? I do not remember properly, but the first leg ended, that was at Parc de France, ended in a 1-all draw, and then in this return leg ended in a 2-all draw, and I think that's when PSG advanced on our goals full. That was after extra time. Then in 2016, the two sides met and PSG beat up against Chelsea by 2 goals to 1 at Parc de France, while in the subsequent fixture at the Stamford Bridge, they also won that game by a similar scoreline. So you can see that PSG have been quite dominant. There have been 2 draws in the 6 meetings. PSG have won 3 of those occasions, while Chelsea have only 1. So in terms of head-to-head, you can see that PSG overall is the much better side. However, I do not want to discount Chelsea because Enzo Maresca can be a very good tactician. I just hope he doesn't overthink this game. But in the end, overall, I believe that PSG are a little bit too hot to handle at the moment or at this stage in their, their development. And the worrying thing about this PSG side is we are talking about a tactically astute manager in Luis Enrique. We are talking about a very young side because when you look at their goalkeeper, Gianluigi Donnarumma. He's only 26 years of age. Albeit, I think he only has 1 year left his current contract, but I think that contract will be renewed. When you look at defenders like William Pacho, he's 23 years of age. They are interested in signing Ilya Zabani from AFC Bournemouth. That's the Ukrainian defender. He's only 22. Marquinhos is a senior player, 31. Ousmane Dembele is 28, I think coming to 29 with the experience. Vitinha is about 25. Nuno Mendes is 20. Fabian Ruiz is 29, I think. When you look at Nuno Mendes, 23. Look at Achraf Hakimi, I think he's 26. So Bradley Bacola, 22. Desli Doe, 19. Kivisha Kvaratskhelia is 24. So this is a very young side that would still go on to dominate European football for the next 3 years. Who knows? It wouldn't, although we've not seen a team in UEFA Champions League history when the competition was rebranded. I think that was 92. Seen a team, win the title, being first-time winners like PSG, and then defend it. But Real Madrid have done it when they went to win it, 3 times in a row between 2016, 2017, and 2018 when they won it for those 3 consecutive times. So let's wait and see. Can PSG be the first team to be inaugural winners to go back and defend the title? Because when Chelsea won it in 2012, we won it again in 2021, almost a decade later. So you can see Man City won it in 2023 and they've not yet won it back again. That was the first time they were winning it. So, I mean, let's just wait and see. But I believe PSG would be a little bit too strong for Chelsea at the end of the day. And I do suspect that PSG could win that game by 3-1. That's my prediction. Maybe it could change subject to changes in starting 11s. You never know what late fitness tests or injury news could be coming out of those clubs that could shift the odds in one side, in one's favor or the other. Otherwise, that's it for me for now. Because we did come for this one late, allow me leave it here and wish you a wonderful rest of the weekend. Of course, we'll be back to engage in more news and other on, and more discussions and analysis on different issues. Otherwise, have yourselves a wonderful rest of the weekend.